Hello and welcome to Round the Table, podcast number 39, broadcasting not only to Bilbao but throughout the world. And here we are on this extremely windy Sunday morning. We were supposed to do the podcast yesterday, but it was a nice day and I had a new load of posters arrived. So I went out putting posters up in Bilbao instead. Because I thought that was priority to get the advertising out. And of course we were going to do a podcast last week, but we didn't because there was nothing to talk about really. Christmas. Who wants to talk about Christmas? A new year.
Yeah.
So we didn't do a podcast last week, so here we are. We're getting a late one this week. It'll probably go out on a Sunday afternoon instead of Sunday morning. But never mind. Hello, Ursula.
Hello, Richard.
And before we discuss the news of the new book, I think we should do this thing because I've got an interesting word.
Oh.
But it's also combined with amazing facts. So the interesting word is span.
Yeah.
Span with an N on the end. S-P-A-N. Not spam.
I was thinking about it. Spam.
That's another spam. Yeah, that's spam. That's another story, isn't it? Spam. We could do the interesting thing of spam if you like. Do you know why spam in your computer is called spam?
Oh, I can't remember.
Spam is a type of meat that comes in a tin, and it's short for spiced ham, I think. Spiced ham. It's called spam. It comes in tins. It's not particularly nice, but some people like it. And it was very popular after the war, or during the war, really, when we had lots of tins of food came in from America to keep us alive. And people started to enjoy this tinned meat called spam. And it was a Monty Python sketch. We all like a bit of Monty Python. If you want to know this one, you have to Google spam Monty Python. And there's some people in a greasy spoon cafe ordering food, and everything comes with spam. And it's spam, baked beans, sausage and spam. But I don't like spam. And all this kind of thing. It's very funny. Anyway, the computer geeks in California were big fans of Monty Python. So when all the junk emails started coming through and they were sorting out all the junk, all the things they didn't want from the things they did want, all the things they didn't want were then called spam because of the Monty Python spam sketch, and they named it spam.
Very good.
But that's not the interesting word. The interesting word is span. Span with an N on the end. Span. Do you know what span is?
It's a period of time.
Oh yeah, very good. Yes. That was the secondary one.
Ah,
I was going to
okay.
say it's a distance. Firstly, it's a distance, really.
Okay.
I don't know which came first. I presume the distance is first. I always think of a bridge. From one side to the other on a bridge is the span of the bridge.
Okay.
But really it's the bit that's unsupported. So if you had a pillar in the middle of the bridge supporting it, then the span would be half its normal span. So I think it's the distance across the bridge which is unsupported. Well, it can have supports from above, but not supports from below. Yeah. So if you have a suspension bridge, for example, then it's got a very wide span. So my first trivia question for you is bridges with a big span. Do you know the bridge with the biggest span?
No.
No, it's not one that you would have heard of. It's Akashi Kaikyo Bridge, and it's in Japan. I know, you're impressed by my knowledge. I've been on Google before I started.
You can't even read it.
Yeah, it's Akashi Kaikyo Bridge. It's linking the two main islands of Japan. The complete bridge is 3 kilometres, no, nearly 4 kilometres in total. But the central span, it has a suspension bridge central part, which is 1,991 metres.
Wow.
And that's the biggest span of a bridge. So there you go. That was an interesting thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's the bridge with the biggest span. And my next question, what about wingspan? A wingspan is, well, the length of the wings, really, from the end of one wing to the end of the other wing.
Yeah.
Which bird has the biggest wingspan?
Ostrich.
You reckon? I think the ostriches are the heaviest bird, probably. But they don't have very big wings, do they?
Okay.
Well, they don't fly, really,
No.
do they? So they've got
Okay.
rubbish little
I
wings.
was thinking about big birds.
Yeah, they're big birds. Yeah, I think ostriches are the heaviest, but they don't have the biggest wingspan. No, I was thinking of the condor, the South American one, the Andean condor, because apparently in South America they're much bigger than in North America. They have condors in North America as well, but in the Andes they're much bigger. But then I thought, no, I think the albatross, the wandering albatross, wandering as in travelling long distances, not wandering as in thinking about things. He doesn't sit there going, I wonder where I'll go today. They can fly for like a whole year without landing. They just keep going. They come back to nest, and when they've finished nesting, they fly off. And yeah, so the albatross is 3.5 metres.
Wow.
That's pretty big wingspan, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the condor is 3.3. So the condor's got a smaller wingspan. But again, I think the condor must be a much bigger bird. I think the albatross, the actual bird in the middle, isn't very big. But it's just got extremely long wings because it flies for such a long period of time.
I was thinking just the opposite. Big bird.
No, because I think the condor might have a heavier body. Yeah. But either way, they're both birds that do a lot of gliding, which means they're not actually moving their wings. They just get on an air current. And they can use the thermals and things like that in the sea, in the air above the sea and things like that. So the albatross can go for a year or more without landing.
Amazing.
Anyway, that was quite interesting. Then another wingspan, the aeroplane with the biggest wingspan, I'd never heard of before. It's called the Stratolaunch Rock, 117 metres. Made by Boeing, and it's something to do with rockets and space travel. It flies extremely high, and it's got a double fuselage, which means it's got two bodies.
Oh, I see.
It's a stratolaunch, so it's something to do with helping with space travel. And Rock, the second part of the name is Rock, R-O-C.
Without a K?
Yeah, because that rock is a legendary bird. It was a giant bird that I think is in Greek mythology. I think. Anyway, then I was thinking about lifespans.
Okay.
Lifespan. So this is periods of time, as you were saying. There are spans that are periods of time rather than distances. Animal lifespan. I'd never heard of this. The immortal jellyfish. It never dies.
How boring is that?
It goes back to its sort of infant state and starts again. I don't know how that works. There are things in the sea which are bizarre, aren't they?
Yeah.
And then there's a clam,
Yeah.
a shell thing that lives in the sea, the quahog clam. The oldest one is 507.
Wow.
That's quite old, isn't it?
Yeah.
For a clam. I wonder how big it was. The Greenland shark, which we've talked about before, I think, goes up to 500 years.
Wow. Wow.
And it lives right down in the bottom of the very cold ocean in the dark, so it's nearly blind, and it swims incredibly slowly. It's got the movement of the tail is very, very slow, so it moves along very, very slowly. And it smells dead whales, apparently. When a whale dies and it sinks to the bottom of the ocean, these sharks find it and they go and eat, and then they swim really slowly for ages before they find another meal.
Maybe that's why they live so long. These go in slow motion.
Oh yeah, they
This
need
life is...
with a very slow metabolism. And then you got tortoises, like the Galapagos tortoises can go up to like 150 years.
How old was George when he died?
Well, Lonesome George, the
Yeah.
tortoise,
Yeah.
he must have been nearly 150, I'm not sure.
Mm.
But he was the last of his type, wasn't he? That's why he was Lonesome George.
Mm.
Human lifespan is about 73, on average, around the world.
Mm.
European lifespan is 82, something like that.
Mm.
A little bit of variation between countries. And trees were quite interesting because there's a pine, the bristlecone pine, goes to nearly 5,000 years. They've got a couple of those that are still alive in the United States. They normally live in very dry desert areas. So again, really hard conditions. So they grow really slowly. So that goes to about 5,000 years. Then there's a thing called the quaking aspen. 80,000 years. What?
Wow.
I know what you're thinking. Now this is really weird because I've seen this on documentaries before, and it's like a whole forest. It's also the biggest living organism because it's a whole forest, but they discovered that all of the trees in the forest are part of the same thing.
Yeah.
They're all connected underground,
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
it's actually one tree,
Mm.
and they've aged it to 80,000 years,
Amazing. That's amazing.
and it's like a whole forest of one tree. Oh, that's real wind. That's not sound effects added on afterwards for special. It's not special effects. The American redwoods, the sequoias in California, they go to about 3,000 years, and some Mediterranean olive trees go to about 2,000. So again, they're very slow growing things. Yeah. So span can be either distances or it can be time. So you can also talk about your attention span.
Oh, yeah.
How long you can concentrate on something.
Not for very long. I'm
It's
afraid.
getting shorter, isn't it? But that's the modern world. We think it's the modern world. Yeah, so your attention span is the amount of time that you can concentrate on something. And it's very poor with a lot of young children now. And even in adults, we were discussing recently, the inability to read books.
Yeah.
Because we're so used to looking at Facebook and all these things on our telephones.
Yeah. It's worrying, really.
So that was my interesting word and interesting facts, all
Very
about
good.
span.
Very interesting.
So it's time we had some news. So the big news is we got things back from the printers this week, haven't we? So we've got loads of interesting topics coming up in the new book. We've got 12 topics as usual for the trimester. The first one is going to be improvement. Just about bettering ourselves and why some people feel the need to improve, some people don't, obviously. Ooh, listen to that wind. The second topic is going to be music, which we haven't discussed for a little while. And of course we've got Song of the Month in there as well. I put Dire Straits' Sultans of Swing in there as the Song of the Month. So music is a huge topic that we can talk about. We've got a very strange one of farming, which we've never discussed farming before, but there's quite a lot of vocab that...
And I think it's interesting because last year there were lots of farming problems here in Europe, maybe. Was it in Europe?
Oh yeah, the farmers were protesting a lot
Yeah.
about imports and things like that. Yeah, so it's a kind of unusual topic. It's not really our style of topic, really, for Meeting Point, is it? But there's lots of things to do with food production, animal welfare, what it would be like to be a farmer. It's quite a hard job. You don't get many holidays if you're a farmer. Anyway, week 4 we're going to be discussing clothes, which is another typical topic that comes back every couple of years, and again it's a huge topic all about fashions and choosing clothes and why people dress the way they do. Guilt, number 5. That's a bit more of one of the abstract ones. Occasionally we get these abstract ones. So that's about shared guilt and how responsible people are for their actions, and even a bit of free will. Do we really have free will? And a little bit of punishment in there, so it overlaps with a bit of crime as well, and a little bit of morals and ethics and that kind of thing. So it's a bit how can I describe that topic?
Philosophy.
Bit philosophical, yeah, it is a bit, yeah. Well, we've done the clothes and music and farming. We need a bit of in-depth discussion, don't we?
Yeah.
The next one's going to be isolation. Isolation, so all about being without people. And sometimes people like to be alone. Sometimes people are forced to be alone. And then we're going to play that game of, if you're stuck on a desert island, what would you take with you? Then we have a bit more music. For Song of the Month is going to be The Sound of Silence,
Very good.
which connects with isolation, you see. It's clever, isn't it? Week 7 is influence. A little bit of influencers, but also the effect of if television and radio and newspapers are still as influential as they were in the past. Also a bit of marketing and advertising and how they influence us. And also people that influence us. Mentors and role models when you were younger and things like that. Then we got one on habits, all about daily routines and breaking habits, and also going into a little bit of addictions and things which we've covered before. Week 9 should coincide with International Women's Day, and I did a whole load of research about women who should be more famous than they are. Women who contributed a lot, usually to science, and their male co-workers sort of took the credit and got the Nobel Prizes and things like that. So that's going to be quite interesting. Then we got a humour. We haven't discussed humour for a while. And I've got a tape script there from a sketch called The Four Yorkshiremen, which is very good. A Monty Python one, and that links in to week 11, which is nostalgia, because the comedy sketch is all about 4 men talking about when they were young.
Yeah.
So number 10, humour, links very well to number 11, nostalgia. And then we've got a very nostalgic song. It Was a Very Good Year by Frank Sinatra. Great song. And week 12 is called minimalism, and it's about why we have stuff and why we should get rid of all the things we own and how we accumulate things in our house. And we have a very cluttered lifestyle. And so it's a bit of consumerism in there as well. And that kind of thing. So that's the book back from the printers. We've also got the posters, which are there's no news there, is there, with the posters?
Not really.
Because they're the same as the last ones, but they're up and around in Bilbao. If you're out this weekend, you'll notice that I was very busy yesterday putting posters up. And is your book back from the printers yet?
Not yet.
Have you finished doing it?
Yes, I have. So I'll send it, because I have to finish the previous ones.
So what have you got coming up for your students in your book then?
Well, I'm doing like shorter, so they can work for a couple of weeks with the same unit. And going through the basics, really, like habits, to talk about the things you do, your daily routines, your likes and dislikes, hobbies, and preferences. Talk about the weather as well.
Weather vocabulary is also always useful, isn't it?
Yeah. And then a visit to the doctor, because as they are a bit elderly, they like to know this vocabulary, you see?
Yeah.
So have a visit to the doctor.
Well,
How do you feel?
It's a huge vocabulary, though,
It
isn't it?
is.
In medical type things.
Yeah.
All the different illnesses you can get.
Yeah.
Even the minor ones like headache and backache and toothache and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's a huge vocabulary. Yeah. Yeah, we haven't done medical things for a while. Maybe next trimester I'll put a medical thing in the book.
Yeah, it's good to know, really, because it's very useful.
Yeah. I have that phrase book. I've got a very old phrase book here somewhere, and it's for travelling, and it's got phrases in 8 different languages for travelling around Europe. Yeah. And in the doctor's section, it says, "Take off your clothes and lie on the couch," in several different languages. That's a very useful phrase to get round Europe. Take off your clothes and lie on the couch.
Very good.
And one final little piece of news. The plant in the office that I thought was a belladonna. I thought it was belladonna because the leaves looked the same and the flowers looked the same. It turned out to be a chili pepper. I forgot I threw some chili pepper seeds in there.
It's a red hot chili pepper.
It is a red hot chili pepper in the office. So I'm sure you're all looking forward to next week when you can come to the office and see my hot chili pepper.
Very good.
That's the highlight of the news for this week. Okay, so hopefully, if you are a member of the Meeting Point, we'll see you in the coming week. And if not, have a good week. Till next week. Bye.
Bye.